Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful December the 9th, 2020. Bondo Deportes, bonjour, and a ho, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we're kind of shocked and disbelief. There's no football games on tonight, so we got to turn to college basketball, I guess, and try to figure out who's on the roster. But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They're always on that first-team roster and helping Americans.
They're always on that first-team roster. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can also follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C. Pause is always good, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, you should tell that to Donald Trump, because he wants to take a pause on giving our military servicemen and women a 3% raise, saying there's too much damn money for them to be making. But Charlton, we can't be pausing on our veterans in this country. We lose some 24 a day to suicide, a horrific number that our administration really doesn't give a damn about. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, hoping to help those veterans and our American citizens out, because we lose a horrific number of those every day to suicide. I know everyone is preoccupied with COVID-19, but suicide has been around long before COVID-19, Charlton, and they're not working on any type of vaccine to stem the tide of suicide. It has to become an entity from the public, Charlton, to help those people out who struggle emotionally, mentally, and physically, trying to find a way to get them some solace, Charlton. Giving out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is one way, but we always got to seek out those people who just need a conversation.
We got to seek them out, Big C. I want to tell the numbers, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. If you're online, just simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. And definitely can get our veterans some help. Also want to say very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. And when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, and sports teams are doing it too. When they're not on pause, watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. And you can definitely get some help. Also, very happy to say, if you open up your cell phone, just like Santa says, ho, 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 you just have to say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You hear all the apps that will pop up. You can hear some of them. You can talk to them, and they talk back. Big C, you ever realize that someday we would have a telephone that actually talks back to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, no, I never thought about it, because when I grew up, we had a party line, and we had to wait on those old ladies that were on the phone. So that phone actually did talk back to you.
Yeah.
Because you had to ask them, could you use the phone?
You had to ask you. You could also hear what your neighbors were saying, too. It's amazing what technology does. Speaking of technology, I want to thank Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like anyone else in the world. We say God said, let there be light, and then the light showed up. You can also do the same thing with your cell phone. Just say play Big C Sports Podcast, and I really love giving out that information because a lot of good old boys are also getting into podcasting, and I'm not going to say the name of them, but I want to wish them the very best. They were on the mothership, and they saw the light. They saw the light, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, as long as you wake up while the sun is shining, Charlton, you'll always see the light.
Yeah.
And it is a way to get uninhibited to millions and millions of people around the world.
Yeah, it really is, and things are growing just like I see in the holidays. I heard an advertisement, and I wish the best for everyone that sends out a postcard, but you got to lick the stamp, and then you got to put it on the piece of paper, and then you got to write some messages on that piece of paper, and then you got to find a post office box, and then they'll come around and pick it up, and they'll send it, and it may take 3 or 4 days to get there, or based on what Donald Trump has done with the post office, it may take a whole 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want to reach out to somebody, pick up your cell phone, and you can reach out to them that way a lot faster. I want to get to something that happened last night. I know you said you couldn't find football on. Today is Wednesday, so there shouldn't be football, Big C. But last night, I think a guy by the name of Lamar Jackson, he got his groove back, Big C. The Dallas Cowboys, they really knocked out themselves when they realized when Jerry Jones went and picked up his friend that was on I guess he was on pause, and McCarthy, and gave him a job, and he brought him into the Dallas Cowboys. And I remember they had a couple of coaches, African American, that did not get to stay at his mansion, and they kind of flew him in and out of town. The Dallas Cowboys, this might be the worst hire that Jerry Jones has made. I know they went 1-15 when Johnson showed up his first year, but 34-17 beat down by the Ravens, and it looks like the Cowboys are giving up. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I've analyzed this, Charlton, for a while, and I know all the media as well as us, we've all attacked Mike McCarthy. But there's been one common denominator with the Dallas Cowboys since Jerry Jones bought the team.
Yeah.
It's been Jerry Jones. And whether they do good or whether they do bad, Jerry Jones has been there.
Yeah.
And for the past 10 years, the Dallas Cowboys have been bad. And it's been all because of Jerry Jones. He is the guy who makes the trades. He's the guy who's making the drafts. He's the guy who's signing the free agents.
Yeah.
A coach is just a figurehead in Dallas. They have no power. Mike McCarthy has no power. When you look at the players who have been playing and not playing, Ezekiel Elliott, you're going to tell me that Jerry Jones freely gave Ezekiel Elliott $50 million and told Mike McCarthy not to play? No, I don't think that that's the cause. And that, I think it comes down to him not wanting to pay Ezekiel Elliott those bonus clauses in his contract. And if he gets hurt, he's going to be stuck on on that contract for the next couple of years to come.
Yeah.
But the situation with the Dallas Cowboys, they have no talent. And that comes from their general manager, Jerry Jones. He signed nobody. You tell me who's on that Dallas Cowboys defense who looks like they really want to tackle. There was a play last night when Lamar Jackson had a quarterback keeper on a 4th and 2 and went for a touchdown. And this all-pro linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch, went everywhere except for staying in the hole that Lamar Jackson was supposed to run through and eventually scored.
Yeah.
And when you look at the offense, there's no leadership on offense. Andy Dalton looks like he really doesn't want to play quarterback in the NFL. The defense for Baltimore was really the star of the game last night. Lamar Jackson had less than 100 yards rushing. He had just over 100 yards passing in the game. So you got to look at how formidable that Baltimore defense was last night in shutting down the Cowboys.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson obviously was back into the grind. I think sometimes people think, well, we need to have a quarterback that throws the ball for 300 yards. And oftentimes that means that you're going to lose because you're playing from behind. Jackson, 94 yards, 13 carries. And then J.K. Dobbins had 71 yards on 11 carries. This is not the doomsday defense, Big C. Baltimore finished 294 yards on the ground, and Gus Edwards had 101 yards. When I think about it, it's not the doomsday defense with Ed Too Tall Jones and Randy White and them good old boys. This Cowboy team, and not to jump on them, but Jerry Jones, people act like Jerry Jones, when Jerry Jones talks, people listen. That's not the case anymore. It's like the guy that mails off Christmas cards instead of sending a text with your cell phone that can have an animated Christmas card on it. Think about what happened last night. At least 30 yards were gained on 3 rushes in the first half, and to allow more than 200 yards on the ground. Big C, that was the 4th time this season, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Dallas Cowboys have nobody on defense, and like I keep telling you, the problem with this team is the guy who's running the team. He's wearing too many hats. At some point, he has to step aside and say, hey, I can't do all of these things. I can't own the team. I can't be the GM of the team, and I can't be the head coach at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give up the head coaching position, and I'm going to give up the GM position. If he did that, then the Dallas Cowboys would be relevant. The Cowboys are not relevant. They're like that team you guys used to have out there in Oakland. Everybody talked about what they used to do in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
It's not about what they're doing in 2010 and after. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys and the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders are. The only thing that both of those teams are relevant about in the NFL is their merchandising.
Yeah, their merchandising. The Dallas Cowboys, they do have a great stadium. I mean, they have a lot of good things that would attract people to Dallas. It's known as the football capital of the NFL universe, allegedly, because they have that star on the side of their helmet so they can see the universe every time they're playing games. But when you think about it, Big C, the Cowboys, they're still are not out of the contention for the NFC East, Big C. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, they're out of contention. I mean, you're just looking at a number. Football is more than just a number. You can give out statistics all the time about how many yards somebody has, how many catches somebody has, how many tackles somebody has. But this wins and losses things in the NFL is realistic. You're out of contention when you have no heart. The Dallas Cowboys have no heart. They're in the weakest division in the NFL, and they're in last place. That means they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the only team that in the NFL that has given up more points than the Dallas Cowboys is the New York Jets.
Yeah.
So the Dallas Cowboys fell into a couple victories early in the year. But the only team that has given up more points than them is the New York Jets. So, yes, they're out of contention.
Yeah, they're still on paper. They're not, things change. We all thought Detroit.
You don't play the game on paper. You play it on that AstroTurf and grass.
Yeah.
And that's where they've been getting their butt kicked.
Yeah, but they're still on paper. They're not out of contention, just to be factual, Big C. They have a chance to turn things around. A lot of people thought that the Washington football team was out of contention. They beat Pittsburgh. Everyone thought the New York Giants were out of contention, and they beat Seattle. So it's not over till it's over, and I'm sure the good old boys down in Texas, they believe that too. That's why they're still trying to figure out what's going on. Also some news with the NFL football. Carolina, the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey, he's ready to play. However, 8 Panthers are on COVID protocol now. If I saw what happened last night with Lamar Jackson, I think he was out about 12 days with COVID. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that have had COVID in the NFL that are starting quarterbacks, whether it's Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson came back, and even though he didn't seem like he was Lamar Jackson that won last year's NFL MVP awards, he still shows if they're going to go anywhere, they're going to have to do it with the run, so nothing really has changed, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that Lamar Jackson that you saw last year that won that MVP, you'll never see him again in the NFL. The NFL has tape on him, so he won't show up again. They know how to shut him down. Lamar Jackson has to become a more proficient passer in the NFL. He'll always be able to run, but he has to become a more proficient passer.
Yeah, we're going to try to pump up your microphone, Big C, but it's all fair in love and war. I want to get into the world of college football. And I know there's so many things that are happening. Who cares about rules? I think POTUS has showed us one thing. The heck with the rules, Big C. Rules are meant to be broken. It's all fair in love and war. But I think about some of the programs, and I'm honestly glad that football is back. I'm glad that basketball is back. I'm glad they played baseball and the Dodgers won the World Series. The Lakers won the NBA championship. Who knows who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? But college football, they were on pause for most of the year. And then right around October, some teams started playing after threatening to beat up the administration. And they convinced a lot of people that COVID's not real. And now that everybody's pausing because of it. I want to go to Big C's upside down top teams in college football. There's some teams that fought to play football, and they have no wins on the season. Number one is UMass. Can you believe they're 0-4? It's at UMass's average to getting to sit at home and prepare for the bottom 25 playoffs, Big C. We should make the bottom 25 playoffs while other students are still playing possibly. They're 0-4 after begging to get back into football, Big C. Your thoughts?
And Charlton, they missed half their season through their games being canceled. So, I mean, they're 0-4, but they're hoping that they don't have to play anymore.
Yeah, they're hoping they don't have to play. Because you know what? They don't get paid. The coaches hope they get to play. The players couldn't care less. Number two in Big C's upside-down football programs, the ones that fought to play and they haven't had a win on the whole season. Imagine how many double days and practicing 2 and 3 hours a day, and you still don't have a win. Number 2, Bowling Green out of Ohio. They're 0-5. So it wasn't great for the Falcons. Losing to Akron was one thing. Getting blitzed 31-3 is another. You have at least one chance this weekend against Miami of Ohio, or it's the bottom 25 playoffs for them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they one chance. You know, how motivated are you, Charlton, when you're 0-5? You know you got one game left on the season. You're going to be playing in Ohio, so I'm going to assume it's probably going to be about 15, 20 degrees. Don't you just want a continuously running clock?
They want the running clock, but the coaches want to run to the bank, Big C, because they're still getting paid no matter how many times they lose. Number 3 on Big C's bottom college football programs, UNLV. Now, who would have made a bet that the running Rebels would have been 0-5? Quarterback Max Gillen publicly apologized for eating sushi off of a nude model while on a yacht on a reality show. That good boys party in Big C. And that's the most exciting thing to happen at UNLV. This used to be the running Rebels with Jerry Tarkanian in basketball back in the day. Randall Cunningham and Ickey Woods, they cut their teeth down at UNLV when they were playing for California Raisin Bulls, unless they beat Hawaii this weekend. And that's a big if. If that happens, well, then the sushi's on them, Big C. But it's not going to be a game that they're going to have an easy chance winning. They have a better chance eating more sushi, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, somebody needs to explain to him what goes on in Vegas. A lot of people don't realize that the UNLV most famous alumni on the football team is Suge Knight, who played down there years ago back in the 80s, Charlton.
Yeah.
But the running Rebels are running away from an opportunity to get a win this year.
Yeah, they're having a hard time. We're still going to pump up your microphone, Big C. Maybe you got some sushi on top of the mic, but it's all fair in love and war. Number 4 in Big C's upside-down college football programs. Whatever happened to Dorothy? The days of Gale Sayers are gone, Big C. The Kansas Jayhawks, they're 0-9. They came so close to Texas Tech, losing 16-13. This week they finished the regular season with Texas. That'll be a come-to-Jesus moment, Big C. How perfectly Texas would it be to be rebuffed by Urban Meyer and then immediately lose to Kansas a week after putting up 69 points against Kansas State? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, we're going to find out if cows like to eat birds, Charlton, and how long. But you can always take those Jayhawks and put them on the horns and use them as steers.
Yeah, they can always do that too. Speaking of Jayhawks, the team that wins this game, they will get the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It also goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C burger. 0% alcohol. College kids might just spit that out, Big C, but it's all fair, love, and war. Number 5 in Big C's upside-down college football programs, ULM, they're 0-10, Big C. The Warhawks fired Coach Matt Vader this weekend after a 48-15 loss to Arkansas State. They're off this weekend, but have one more chance to pick up a win against Troy, and that's coming up on December 17th, Big C. Your thoughts?
You think about all these teams who fought so hard to play through COVID-19, Charlton. You go out there and you're 0-10. I mean, what type of excuse do you have? I mean, because everybody's been under the same COVID protocol.
Yeah, they have.
But you haven't had a chance to get a win all year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the kids because a lot of kids read, and they can read that they're not getting any money. I know we were talking about Congress making it possible for kids to get paid on their likeliness. I think that's going to start 2021, but it's amazing how these coaches are not paid on performance. They're paid on the contract. The kids are judged on performance, and they don't get a contract to get money. It's all fair in love and war, but that's not right, Big C. Number 6 on Big C's upside-down college football programs, FIU, they're 0-5. If the Panthers' season is over, there are no games on the schedule right now. Then they'll have finished the year with more canceled games than played games. I feel there's got to be some reward for that. Like there's a bowl game out there waiting for someone to invite them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they got the beaches down in Florida, Charlton, that they can go to, so they can go get some sunshine and work on their team.
Yeah, they can work some, and they take sushi with them. It's amazing. It's amazing. We have COVID-19. You're not supposed to kiss anybody. You're not supposed to touch anybody, but you have some good old boys down in Vegas licking sushi off a woman's belly, but it's all fair. Nothing war. It's all fair, man. I love the college life. Number 7 in Big C's upside-down college football programs, Vanderbilt. Them good old boys, the Commodores, are 0-8. Their game against Georgia was postponed last week and is tentatively scheduled to be made up December 19th. But that's also the day the SEC championship game is going to be played between between Florida and also Alabama. So before that game, the Commodores will face Tennessee on Saturday. Full disclosure, I was going to make it to the bottom 25 game of the century this week, but to worry about its possible cancellation, they still want to know what could have been. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, what's the reality of playing that game? If you got your conference championship game playing on that
same day,
you're 0-8. What are you trying to do? Become 0-9?
Yeah, 0-9, and also take away some TV revenue. That'll way to teach them. We'll teach an undefeated team that we're going to pull some viewers away to watch a team that's winless. It's all fair in love and war. I want to take you out to the desert. And the desert's called Arizona. The number 8 in Big C's upside down college football programs. Arizona, man, they're 0-4. They took a 13-0 lead on Colorado before giving up 24 straight points. They lost 24-13. And the Wildcats have one final shot this weekend against rival Arizona State, but you don't want to have a bet against a Sun Devil, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm trying to figure out the combined record between those two teams. You said Arizona's 0-4. I think Arizona State is 1-2. So
yeah.
They might get to one win between two of them.
What if it's a tie, Big C? They don't play ties in college football anymore, but what if it goes to overtime to decide who has more losses on the season? It's all fair in love and war. Number 9 in Big C's upside down college football programs. Northern Illinois, they used to have a really solid program. They're 0-5. The Huskies hung around with Toledo for a while, but they still fell short by the score of 41-24. This week, Big C, they finished the season with Eastern Michigan in a game that will likely have been our game of the week had the Eagles not won last week. Oh, well, so what about regrets, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you could call that the Grinch who stole Christmas.
Yeah.
Spoiled, unspoiled, unperfect peace.
Yeah, it's all fair in love and war. It's like somebody would have been married the right person, had the wrong person not showed up, if that makes sense. It's all fair in love and war. Number 10 in Big C's college football upside down. University, Syracuse. This used to be a great broadcasting school. It really used to be, Big C. They've had the Syracuse Orangemen. They were always a perennial March Madness tournament team. And now a football program that every now and then they play good football over the years. They had the great Donovan McNabb played there at Syracuse. Also McPherson, and probably the number 1 college football program in the history of the universe. The great Jim Brown played at Syracuse. Maybe they'll get Jim Brown back to the program, Big C. Syracuse season came to an end with a 45-21 loss to Notre Dame over the weekend. I'm sure everybody in the program is fine with just closing the books and moving on. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, Charlton, this became the first college football program to have an on-dome campus stadium.
Yeah.
And this program has gotten kind of soft since then. Maybe they need to implode that dome and make them go outside and tough them up a little bit.
Yeah, make them go outside and toughen up. I feel bad for teams, and I really do, because we know the state of California is almost on shutdown, and businesses are closed. You can't play sports in Santa Clara County, which is just south of San Francisco, home of the 49ers, San Jose Sharks, San Jose State, Stanford University. You can't play a local football game there. And then they're doing it for medical reasons and health reasons, not because they don't want to. And then you have programs that fought to get football back, and they don't even win games. And the coaches get paid anyway, and the kids get nothing. But that's life in America's all fair and love and war. College basketball, speaking of college basketball, Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski, today, actually it was on Tuesday, he called on basketball to consider whether it's best to continue playing during the COVID-19 pandemic. You would have thought he went to a Pac-12 school, or at least to Stanford University. It would be just like the safety thing is more important. The mental and physical health of players and staff to access where we are, Krzyzewski said, Big C. Duke has had 2 games postponed so far this season, but coach acknowledged that what happens in December is not as important as fielding a tournament in March. We know the NCAA is worried about the end game. He said we're not as worried about the game that we're playing right now, but they should be with the vaccine on the way, Big C. Your thoughts?
And, you know, that's the concern of genuineness. When you look at Coach Krzyzewski, this is a guy who has won 5 NCAA titles as a head coach, Charlton, and he's always been first and foremost about his kids. And here it is now. He's not being selfish. He's understanding that the game is not bigger than the health of the athlete. And he always welcomes that the games get canceled because of health reasons.
Yeah.
But the NCAA is marching on because of the money. They got to get paid. That's what the NCAA is looking at. They got to get paid.
Yeah.
They know that athletes will be recycled, turned over each year, but right now they can't lose the money.
Yeah, they can't use the money. I know they have Charleston Southern. They're on pause due to COVID-19, and they were supposed to play Duke coming up on Saturday, and they're not going to play that game because of COVID-19. But I want to ask you something, Big C. I know there was a time when Dean Smith, people could say that maybe he was the top dog, if that makes sense to you, in college basketball. He and the late John Wooden, the late Dean Smith, and there was a time when Dean Smith wouldn't let his team play or stay in some hotels because they would not rent rooms to African-American players. And so he did the right thing, and he said, if they can't stay here, then we won't stay here. Now, Coach K, I would say he's probably the top dog in college basketball, at least for respect. When he talks, people listen. Is he being passive and saying the league should do something about it, or should he do what Gene Smith said back in the day? It's not, if all my kids aren't welcome, we're not going to do it. Could he just say we're going to go on a strike and not do it? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, see, Dean Smith learned from Coach Haskins at Texas Western Charleston, who was the first coach to have an all-African-American lineup. He learned his lesson from them. Coach Krzyzewski, Charleston, is just an administrator at Duke. He's just an employee. He doesn't control what the athletic department or the administration does. He's just a simple employee. He is following the guidelines of his contract. When you think that one individual is bigger than a sport right now, then that individual will not have a job in the sport. They will replace him. That's what your assistant coaches are for. They become interim head coaches, Charlton. The game moves because of finance. Don't think that a coach has a say-so in what happens as far as moving forward. You think Ryan Day had a say-so in Ohio State's football team, getting the say-so saying that they were going to be moving on in the Big Ten?
Yes, I do. Because when people of his stature, when they talk, they have the ears of everybody, Big C. And don't think for a second, and I respect Coach K and what he's been about over the years, but if these coaches said they're not going to play, I don't believe that they would have been fired. I don't believe the major universities would have said, well, we're going to hire somebody else. It's like the scab players or a scab coach. And I believe this. Just like the Black Lives Matter, and people said, oh, don't do it, you're going to cost yourself a job, or you're going to make people turn off television. No one's lost a job. No one's turned off television. In fact, the TV networks, they're begging people to play. And they even put Black Lives Matter on the court of the NBA. So if I'm going to give Coach K the credit for criticizing people, I think you talk more with actions than you do with words. Does that make sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
But I love your naivete when it comes to that, because Coach K does not control the television network. Coach K does not control the university. He may be the highest paid employee at the university, but his status says employee, at-will worker, and they can move him anytime they want. You got to remember, a couple of years ago, Coach K didn't coach because of stress.
Yeah.
And all Duke did was move on. They put another coach in place for him and moved on. You talk about Dean Smith a lot. When Dean Smith was removed from coaching at North Carolina, they've had 3 coaches that have succeeded him since that point.
Yeah.
Basketball moves on. There's too many teams in basketball. There's too much money on the table. A coach does not have to say so whether a team is going to play or not. It comes down to the administration and the health officials at that university.
Yeah, but I think that's a passive way, because what Coach K is unlike Dean Smith, not that he has to be like him, but when Dean Smith was told that the black players can't stay here, but the white players can, he took his whole team to a hotel that said all of you can stay. And I feel like
that's a long time before they had multi-million-dollar contracts that are negotiated by a conference, not by Coach K. The ACC negotiates that conference that they have to deliver X amount of games to those television networks to receive their revenue. You think that one conference is going to let one coach sacrifice all their revenue because of his internal beliefs?
Well, yes, and I'm going to talk about that when we come back from the Big C pause, because at some point in time, We got to follow what black men have done. The NBA black players walked off the floor. They didn't say, well, TV won't let us do it. The white man won't let us do it. They walked off the floor, and the coaches were behind them. And I'm going to talk about that.
When we come back from break, how the NBA players were able to do that.
We'll take the Big C pause, and when we come back, we'll talk more about why leadership is what you do, not what you say. And as the great Arnold Schwarzenegger was saying, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcast. There's so many apps that you can follow Big C Sports on, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Just like Comcast Spotlight, I really do appreciate Comcast Spotlight presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said, let there be light, and the universe was created. Open up your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear, welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. This is what I would bring up, because if his words mean something, people are going to listen. Unless he's just talking to say, hey, well, I took a strong stand. I got to bring this point up, because we do our Veterans Crisis Hotline show. We do that tribute every show, Big C. You do it every show. You go about a minute or two every show. And if we were to just say, hey, everybody support your veterans, now let's talk about the game. We don't do that. You talk about why it's important, and then once you finish talking about why it's important, we give out a phone number, we give out a website, and we give out a text. So we're being active. We're not just saying, yeah, support our veterans. If these coaches are going to say it's about mental safety, like we do for our Veterans Crisis Hotline, if it's about our physical health, as we do for our Veterans Crisis Hotline, it's about the staff being healthy, Big C. It's about so many things than just talking. If they were to take a stand, if they really believe that mental health and physical health are in jeopardy, if they were to say we're going to put a pause on, I think they would get the backing of the administration, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, let me put this in simplicity. What stopped Coach K from walking away saying, I'm not going to coach during this pandemic?
Because he really doesn't believe that they should stop. But it's good gesture. It's good to say, hey, let's all wash our hands on social distance, and then they go to parties. Hey, let's all wash our hands on social distance, and then they're having players get together and sweat all over each other for 2 hours. So it's disingenuous. If you really believe what you're saying, when Gene Smith had the chance to tell that hotel, if you don't rent to our black players, then none of us will stay here. He could have done what Coach K said. Hey, it's not nice not to rent to black people, but we'll find them a tent and the white guys can stay inside. I'm saying actions speak louder than words, Big C. Your thoughts?
You made a statement right before we went to break about the NBA players and putting Black Lives Matter and stuff like that on the court. What drove the NBA players to continue to play through the pandemic?
It was something that college players don't get, Big C. It's called money, mucho dinero, coin. That's what drove it, Big C. But even with that, Big C, the coaches, they capitulated to the athletes, but money made them come back. Tell me how much college players are getting, Big C. Your thoughts?
Which NBA coaches capitulated to the athletes?
Every single one that walked off, that they could have showed up at the bubble.
Do you know why these coaches and the owners capitulated to the athletes?
Money and contract.
No, do you know what? Beyond just saying money, why? Be specific.
Okay, do you know? Give your opinion.
I'll tell you why. Do you know that the NBA players own 53% of the finances of the NBA? They are the owners of the league. It's not the guys who own the team. The players own 53% of the revenue of the league. So the owners in actuality work for the players. This is what you need to understand, the differential between the NBA and college athletics. As you constantly reiterate that college athletes don't get a dime and the coaches get all the money. So the players follow the suit of the piper in college sports, is that they follow the coach because the coach is getting money and they get a sweatsuit. It's different in the NBA when you own 53% of the revenue of the league. Then you have a say-so and you make a difference. When the NBA players said, we're going to put the league on pause because of Black Lives Matter, and right now mentally we can't play, the owner said, okay, take your time. That's what they said, take your time, because we're losing less money than you are. And when you decide to come back, we'll all be making money. That's what drives it all. It's money. It's not about social activism. It's not about security of caring about somebody. It's about that almighty dollar.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying Coach K, he can do all the talk about saying, well, it's not great for our mental health of the athletes. It's not great for the physical health of the staff and the players. But he's out there anyway. I mean, the actions of what he's doing hasn't changed.
You remember you made a point about Kirk Herbstreit early in the college football season, going on TV crying crocodile tears, talking about we got to listen and understand about Black Lives Matter. Yet black athletes made him successful when he was in Columbus, Ohio, one of the most racist cities in America, and he lived through it. He's watched black athletes get ostracized in a city that were on the same team that he was on, Charlton, and he gave those fake tears on national television. We've heard everybody come out and cry about how they care about athletes and how they got to, be careful about the health and welfare.
Right.
We saw that earlier with the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, played 3 games in 11 days because of COVID-19. The NFL is like, we're going to get our money in.
Yep.
The Baltimore Ravens, that game should have been canceled last night by the NFL.
Yeah.
The NFL, that was a total damn farce by the NFL letting that game go on. You go pull Dez Bryant off the field 15 minutes before the game, 30 minutes before the game, saying that you tested positive for COVID-19. You think he hasn't been in that same locker room all week long? All day long, and he's out there hugging up with Dallas Cowboys and Ravens players prior to the game. But 30 minutes before the game, you're going to take him off and say he's the only one with COVID-19?
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, Big C. But my point is this. I think we've lost almost 280,000 Americans, and that's just since, I think, February in the United States of America due to COVID-19. It doesn't matter how many of them were wealthy. It doesn't matter how many of them were poor. Their lives are over. And so my only point is, quit putting money in front of everything. When people have a burning house, they don't say, man, I got all this money. I can't get out of the house. What about my furniture? What about my fancy cars? I can't leave this house. No, they get out to save their lives. These kids are being flown around the country. University of Charleston just canceled their game with the Duke. And so if Coach K is sincere, he's going to put his same kids on an airplane. You got to think about this. They put them on an airplane. They fly them all around the country. They go into other environments where college campuses won't even let most kids come back to campus now because of COVID. And then a coach can come out and grandstand and say, hey, it's not safe for our kids. Their mental health, that we do that mental health things every show. Even the mothership has a show on mental health. They didn't do that this year, Big C. I'm not saying they copied us, but we've been doing it. All I'm saying is quit blaming somebody but saying they got to do it for the money. If someone dies, over 280,000 people have died, they can't worry about money anymore. That's what it's going to take for a college to just talking about it and say we're not going to play these games? Big C, your thoughts?
No, it's not. It's not going to take that for a college. Because if a kid dies from COVID-19 on campus, which we've had happen on several occasions from college athletes and college students, Charlton, it hasn't stopped the operations of a university. And I don't blame any damn college basketball, football, baseball, track and field, swimming coach anywhere in the country. I think every one of them damn kids have a parent. I call those parents irresponsible and lack character. I don't blame one college football coach for going out collecting a paycheck. But I blame every parent for being irresponsible, for putting their kids in harm's way and saying, well, if they catch it, they'll figure it out. I blame the parents. Stop blaming the coaches because they're out there going to work. Blame the parents for putting their kids out there in a situation that you just continuously speak about that can cause your death. You're going to tell me that you would put your kids out there in a situation that potentially could cause their death or a lifelong heart condition, Charlton, because some coach says that they're great and they want them to continue to play.
Yeah, I do. That's why companies get sick.
You would do that? You would do that with your child?
No, you're not.
Go out there and play.
No, you're not listening.
You got it all.
No,
if you get sick, if you die, if you get physically, harmed the rest of your life, oh well, that's the chance we'll take.
No, you're not listening to what
you know the risk going into it.
No, maybe you can't hear what I said. But I don't blame the kids. The kids are impressive when they're 18.
I'm not saying the kids. I'm saying the parents.
I don't
blame the parents. You keep blaming the coach.
No, you can blame who you want.
The parent is the one that's allowing the kid to go to that situation. So think about the parents who pull their kids off the campus, Charlton, when those campuses are closed up, who don't play athletics because of the health risk. I call those parents responsible. I call those parents who force their kids to go out there and play sports irresponsible. I don't blame the coach. The coach is getting the paycheck.
Well,
it's like the postman dropping off the mail.
Yeah,
he's getting the paycheck.
Well, I do blame the coaches, and I blame the schools, and I don't blame the parents because the parents don't have the same aptitude and decision-making that those coaches do and those schools do. And also, when kids are 18, they technically are adult, Big C, but it doesn't mean that you know more than the experts. That's my opinion. Last thing I'll say on that, and everybody has a right to their own opinion, but quit blaming parents for not having the faculty that a major university has or $100 million bank accounts that universities have for free labor. Parents don't have that. It's not the same fight, Big C. And I would say if Santa Clara County... Hold on.
Parent doesn't have the acumen.
Well, if you let me finish my point, you'll understand what I'm saying. Let me finish my point because they're 18. You can be drafted when you're 18 before they enter the draft. Santa Clara County, they don't blame the parents. The health department shut down sports in Santa Clara County. That's San Jose State, the 49ers. They can't even come back into California. They didn't leave it up to the parents. Somebody has to be the adult in the room. And that should be the authorities. Quit blaming parents who don't have the same money and faculty that the experts have. We have this vaccine they're pushing out right now.
I know many parents who have college degrees and their kids are going to college and playing sports. So I'm going to believe that they have the faculty even when they put their kids in harm's way. I think as a parent, it's a fiduciary responsibility of you mentally to protect your child their entire life, regardless of how old they are. You are there as in an advisory role. And every parent doesn't have a college degree. But common sense does not require a damn college degree.
Well, let me ask you a question.
This is on the news every day, and if you're any way salient about what's going on in society, and you're going to say this one individual who is supposed to be overseeing hundreds of people and is going to be more knowledgeable and caring about what I am since I've taken this child from day one of birth and reared them up. You might be technically an adult now, but where do you come home to at the end of the day, at the end of the school year? You still go back to that parent looking for love and guidance. You don't go to that coach's house.
This is where I think you're wrong. Santa Clara County.
So they go to the coach's house?
You're not listening. Santa Clara County. I want you to argue with Santa Clara County, the health officials. I want you to argue with because you sound like those parents that wanted to fight the Big Ten commissioner, blaming the parents. I want you to argue with Santa Clara County. I want you to argue with why they won't let the 49ers come to town, why San Jose State can't play at home, why Stanford can't play at home, like what Santa Clara University, and San Jose State, the Sharks, or the San Jose Sharks NHL, and the San Jose Earthquakes. I want you to argue with the county officials, the health officials, that have told people it's not safe, and we're not going to let you do it. Give them your argument, Big C, your thoughts.
And you missed my point that I said. Where did those kids go to when they were told by that county that they could not participate at that university, that they had to take their butts back home to their parents' house? And that's what they did. They went back home to their parents, and they sit down and talk to their parents about the situation and understood and respected their parents' thought on it. They didn't go out there and fight. Say, hell no, we're going to go out here to this university and do what we want to do because we're 18, 20 years old now. We're going to go back to our parents' place where we feel it's safe and we have some sense of understanding. That's what they did. They're not fighting the county. And that's the same thing as I'm saying about these coaches. These coaches are not fighting the university. They're doing what the universities say. Santa Clara County is no different than, Raleigh, North Carolina, where Duke is. That county has not put in that stay-at-home order. So Mike Krzyzewski spoke up saying, this is what the county should do. The county is saying no, because there's too much money on Tobacco Road. When you have 8 universities within 40 miles of each other making a copious amount of money playing basketball, they're not going to turn it up, Charlton, when it's all 8 of those are in the same county.
Well, Silicon Valley is the wealthiest county in the United States of America, and they shut it down for health. They didn't talk about it. They did it. I would say blame the people at the higher level, and if coaches took a stand maybe everyone would back them, but the county shut it down. They did not leave it up to the parents. But that's my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion.
The county shut it down. Did the university shut it down?
They had no choice. Big C.
We're talking about a civic government entity versus university. And this is where we started out. The universities have not shut it down. The athletic departments have not shut it down. The chancellors have not shut it down. It took the state entities to shut it down because the universities were not going to put the health of the kids first. You think those university health departments did not know what the county knew? But it took the county to step in and shut it down. But was it shut down statewide or just in one county? The rest of the counties in California, from what I've seen on the news, is wide open. And COVID is rampant out there. But one county said, we're going to shut it down. The rest of the universities in California, aren't they still playing sports?
There are some, but it's the decision makers that
outside
made it.
Of that county, are the other universities
No. That's why you're not listening.
Are they still playing sports?
No, you're not listening. They've cut out sports, Big C. Some programs they've even canceled football. Period. They didn't give it hit and miss. I just think it's disingenuous what Coach K is doing. If he's really sincere, go to Stafford for a weekend and then get some real education on what you're doing to the kids. Don't blame the parents. Blame the people that are making the system work anyways. That's my opinion, and everybody has their own opinion. And speaking of college, this is something else we might disagree on, and that's good because I know the West Coast, I've been telling you, and I know you laugh at me, the West Coast is more concerned about the health and education of student athletes, and those programs down south, they don't care. But I got to bring this up because it's so important. We just talked about it I think, the last couple of days. Not that we're right, but we are prescient because we talked about it first. And sometimes that should count. College football. The Big Ten officially, they changed this policy that teams must play 6 games to be eligible for the conference football championship game, meaning that undefeated number 4 Ohio State, they're going to face Northwestern December 19th. That's the same day that the SEC is going to have Alabama and Florida play. Now, the conference made the announcement today after its administrative council made up of all athletic directors and senior women administrators. They voted to eliminate the minimum game requirements in collaboration with the Big Ten Council of Presidents and Chancellors. Big C Sports has been talking about this for the whole week. They were going to find a way to get Ohio State in that game. The decision was based on the competitive analysis, if you believe that garbage, that Ohio State would have advanced in the Big Ten football championship game based on its undefeated record and head-to-head victory over Indiana, regardless of a win or a loss against Michigan. That's what the conference said. You and I both know that it's all about money. It has nothing to do with whether Ohio State could beat somebody. It's about, that's the bell cow for that program, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they had already held the tiebreaker in the Eastern Division of the Big Ten because they had already beat Indiana.
Yeah.
They could not put in another game this weekend in time enough to play. So they did a financial decision. You know, when you think about playing in the college football playoffs, each one of the 4 teams in the college football playoffs, Charlton, their conference received $6.6 million each.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, as well as the Big Ten, really understands that Ohio State is their best opportunity to compete for a national championship, Charlton. So this is all about economics. And when you think about Ohio State, where they're ranked in the top 4 and they're there every year, this is their best opportunity to win a championship.
Yeah, and I agree. And I never for 1 second thought that they were going to stop football. They didn't leave it up to the parents, though, Big C. You notice that? They left it up to the higher officials. That's why I keep saying, quit blaming the parents. These kids are 18. You know,
remember when when the Big Ten parents were outside the commission?
They were going to beat them up.
Wanting to beat up the commission because they didn't want to let the kids play football. So the parents are the ones who really initiated this move to get all this going months ago at the Big Ten office.
Yeah, but that's not right. Do you think if every parent could drive a Cadillac Escalade, they would? They don't get it because they want it, Big C. Somebody got to give it to them. That's how they get a lot of those kids to come to these programs. And I'm not being flippant. Every parent wants an Escalade, but every parent doesn't get it. It's the decision makers and the people that run things. They determine if you get the Escalade or if you get to play sports. Now, this is where I have a bone to pick with you. Because I'm telling you, I've been talking about it. In fact, I've been feeling it in my bones. The more collard greens I eat, the more transparent I get, Big C. It's all fair and love and war. We just talked about what's happened with Ohio State because they want Ohio State to make that money. And I'm thinking this is going to happen the conversation is going to happen. I'm telling you, my grandparents told me that white people do more to avoid death and make money than anything else in the world. We got this vaccine coming, and they're all trying to avoid death. And they're all playing sports to make more money, but they don't want to pay out money. NCAA college football. Notre Dame University, a touchdown Jesus, they joined the ACC Big C this year football for money. They've already been a part of it for basketball. They did it for money. And then what happened this year? BYU. They're independent. They played Coastal Carolina on a short day's notice. Why they do that, Big C? They did it for money and a chance to play in the bowl games. Now, as we've been saying, the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are nut. And they're nuts for playing football. But the conference just did what we've been saying they were going to do. They're going to get Ohio State into the football conference. This is my thought, and it's probably going to happen because they're going to find a way to make the money. That's the only way they're going to make change for Ohio State. Let all Power 5 conference champions and 3 at-large playoff teams, if they don't want to get in, let them cancel. Let them opt out. But who doesn't want to make more money if they line up 8 teams and let them play their way to a championship? It's just one more game for the 2 final teams. Big C, your thoughts?
Who's going to put forth the money? That's what it comes down to. You got to realize when the college football playoff was sanctioned years ago, Charlton, all Power 5 conference schools, athletic directors, administrators were all in on how the deal was going to be made, who was going to qualify. This just didn't come up. This was laid down 5 years ago when they set up the college football playoff. They all understood what the breakdown would be, that somebody would always be left out, and it most likely would only be 3 conferences that were playing in the college football playoff. It was going to be based on strength of schedule and records at the time, Charlton. So this is nothing new. It's not because of COVID-19. This is what the agreement was based on. It wasn't based on emotion. It was based on reality.
Okay.
People knew that unless they put the product on the field to compete and show on a national stage week after week that they were the elite teams in the country, that they were going to be on the outside looking in.
Big C, now you sound like Trump. Count all the votes. Let all the conferences count the votes. Count the conference champions.
But the conferences are the ones who made the agreement, not the outside entities, not the media. It was the athletic directors, the chancellors, the president of the university. They came to this agreement 5 years ago. They counted all the votes. When they put it up for a vote, they all voted and all the votes were counted. Because you get conferences that are left out because they're not as competitive, people always feel that they're ousted.
No, that's garbage. You just went backward on your own words. You said the conferences made the choices, right? Well, who just made the choice that Ohio State gets in? Was it that conference, Big C, your thoughts?
The Ohio State did an internal within their conference.
Oh, internal. Okay.
When all the chancellors voted together, it was based on ranking at the end of the year. Ohio State is in the top 4. They're not going to fall out of the top 4.
That's garbage.
They've been hurt by COVID. It's not that they don't have the power. I mean, they have. If USC wants to come out and play Ohio State this weekend and say, okay, the winner of this gets in, USC is going to turn that down. They don't want to play Ohio State.
That's ridiculous because you're acting like Donald Trump now. Let the conferences, just like they got BYU to play Coastal Carolina, somebody fronted the money. The way they got Notre Dame in the ACC, somebody fronted the money. They've canceled several bowl games, probably 10 bowl games, and maybe more to come. And somebody's going to pay that money for those bowl games that got canceled. And let every conference get together. I know you guys follow Big C Sports.
Notre Dame bought their way into the ACC. They paid to be in the ACC so that they would have an opportunity to compete. They shared that $110 million contract that they had for football with the ACC. That's the reason why they're playing in the college football playoffs this year.
You find me one conference. You got the SEC. Kick the SEC out. Kick them out. They cheat anyway. If you do it based on graduation, none of those schools will get in. Kick out the ACC. Kick out the SEC. Let the Pac-12 in. Let the Big 12 in. And then if you also want to let the Big Ten's going to get in because they did some shenanigans to get Ohio State in. So how can you sit there and say Ohio State did the right thing and BYU and Coastal Carolina did the right thing and Notre Dame did the right thing joining the ACC, but to keep the Pac-12 out and the Big 12 out, you say, well, we can't do that because the conferences don't want to play. That's garbage, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they have to be ranked, Charlton. I mean, you have
Who ranks them, Big C?
Opportunity every year to play football.
Who's doing the ranking?
And the competitiveness is done on the field. That's where all the balloting is done based on performance on the field. And when you're product of the quality of your product is not up to par with other people, Charlton, is doing the evaluation. These are all independents who are voting on the team. It's not the conference going in voting on the team. These are independents. You got to realize, you know who the president of the bowl selection committee is, Charlton?
No, who
is that?
The president?
He's the athletic director of the University of Oregon. The athletic director of the University of Oregon is the president of the bowl selection committee.
And you know what happened to Oregon last year? The same conference that can't get into this Final Four thing, that's collusion. The Pac-12 won the Rose Bowl last year, didn't they? You know what conference they beat? They beat the conference that made a change to get their team into another bowl system. They beat Wisconsin last year, Big C. The Big Ten made a change to get Ohio State in.
If that's shenanigans, why does he not vote for a team from his conference to get in, Charlton? Why does he not vote for a team from his conference to get in the top 4, top 5? For the last 2 years, he's been the president of the bowl selection committee, and he was the president last year when Oregon went to the Rose Bowl. But they had the losses on the season, Charlton. So if there was shenanigans going to be pulled, don't you think he would pull them for his own team and his own conference?
I'm saying that's going to happen. That conversation is going to happen, just like no one thought that BYU was going to play Coastal Carolina when they were both at about 8 wins on the season until the week before the game happened. And just as we're talking now, just like the good old boys in Columbus, and we were talking about it today is Wednesday, I think. We were talking about it as much as last week because some things happened with Michigan State, actually Michigan and Ohio State, and we were saying they'd find a way to get in. Sometimes things happen on the dime on that day, Big C. It doesn't have to be etched in stone from 5 years ago. And I believe all the Power 5 conferences, if you're interested in having this 2020 COVID season where everything is different, even the president lost the election. He's trying to challenge everything. All of these conferences, if you're going to be fair, if you're doing it for the money anyway, I'm sure they'll have these conversations. It doesn't make sense not to. Get the Power 5 champions in, have 3 at-large teams. If you don't want to participate, you can opt out. But I believe that conversation is going to happen because it's already starting to happen, especially out here in the Pac-12. You can't keep colluding to keep 40 million people out of California from having a school participate in the college football championship. I think the state of Alabama, if you add Alabama, South Carolina, and Ohio, you don't have 40 million combined. 40 million people in California, and they get kicked out of the bowl series. Big C, your thoughts?
So what if the Oregon State ends up winning the Pac-12 one of those years, or Washington State ends up winning the Pac-12, Charlton, or even the University of Arizona? I don't think you have 40 million people combined in those states. Would the cry be to have one of those teams represented?
I'm saying you got the number 2 media market in the United States of America. And some good old boys in the South, the same way the Southern Confederate did and Mitch McConnell, they try to block votes, and they're doing the same thing again. I want to run this down before we close out.
When you look at media markets, I mean, does the Super Bowl have down numbers when a California team is not in the Super Bowl? Or does the Super Bowl always have huge numbers?
You can do
in any sport, whether it's NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. It's about the championship. Fans tune in to see the championship. It's always great when you have your local team participating. It gives you some feeling of zealous and uplifting.
Yep.
But I think that the fans across the country, what they're looking at is the totality.
What fans are you talking about?
When the Super Bowl is being played, whoever's watching the game in China doesn't care about which city that they're from. Who's ever watching the game in Russia doesn't care because it's a worldwide event. That's what it's all about. They're looking at the gross television market.
Yeah, you got 13 people deciding who gets where. And last year, LSU beat Clemson 42-25. You had LSU 63-28 over Oklahoma, Clemson 29-23 over Ohio State, Buffalo 31-9 over Charlotte, Kent State 51-41 over Utah State, North Carolina A&T 64-44 over Alcorn State, San Diego State 48-11 over Central Michigan, Liberty 23, Georgia Southern 16, Florida Atlantic 52, SMU 28, Arkansas State 34, Florida International 26, Washington 38, Boise State 7. And I'm telling you, Big C, you can go all over the country and find different teams.
Do you know the TV ratings of any of those games that you just mentioned? That's what
so hold on a second. Are you playing?
Teams have the TV ratings to stop the nation to watch.
Are you playing football for TV ratings or for a chance to win a championship? Because I can guarantee you there's a lot more people in California watching football than there are in Alabama. That's just my opinion. And just to round it out, Big C.
Percentage of households? No. I mean, when was the last time you saw a college football game sold out in California versus a college football game sold out in the state of Alabama?
Well, let me fill this in on something. Arizona State 20, Florida State 14, a team from the South lost. The Red Box Bowl, California 35, Illinois 20. The Pac-12 won again. In the Rose Bowl, you had Oregon beating Wisconsin 28-27. Would you believe the Pac-12 won the second amount of bowl games, but they can't get teams ranked higher because of collusion? We're not talking about attendance. We're talking about the collusion. The number 2 conference.
What's the average attendance?
I don't count them all. But that's not the point. That's not the point.
Average attendance of a USC football game.
The number of teams that won bowl games, the Pac-12 is number 2 in the whole country.
But it comes down to that's what television wants to see.
No, it's not about TV. It's about the teams that win.
Of a USC television football game.
Well, you sound like Donald Trump. Count all the votes, Big C.
It's a simple question.
It's a simple answer.
Average attendance of a USC
well, you like I said, you like Donald Trump, count the votes. The state that won. You want to go back and count the votes, you count them. But don't kick off the number 2 conference that won all their bowl games and say they don't have a good enough team to compete. That doesn't make any sense. But that's my opinion.
What's the average attendance of the conference? If you're saying that the number 2 conference, they won the most bowl games. What's the average attendance of the conference game?
Who cares about they kicked everybody's butt that they played.
Television cares about it because it's the eyeball test.
Okay, so if that's the case.
If you go to a game in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where they got 103,000 people in the stadium, you go to a game at USC in the center of Los Angeles where they got 60,000 people in the stadium, it's the eyeball test that the networks look at, and that's what they're willing to pay for. That's where the revenue is generated to go back and forth. What they're going to pay the university for their broadcasting rights, Dalton, because they know that they got the eyeball test in the stadium, they got the eyeball test outside the stadium. This is the reason why you get a broadcast network like CBS buy up the SEC, because they get return on investment, because every time they broadcast a game in non-COVID situations, they have a sellout. They can guarantee that. You can't tell me you can go to Pullman, Washington, and you're going to have a sellout. You can't tell me you're going to go up to Corvallis, Oregon, or Eugene, Oregon, whichever one where Oregon State is, and have a sellout. You're not going to get. You can't go down on the farm in Stanford or even Cal and have a sellout. This is what it comes down to. At some point, you got to realize it's all about money, marketing, and the eyeball test.
What you're saying makes no sense. The number 1 college basketball program in the country.
So
hold on. Would you believe?
They should do these games and broadcast them for free. And nobody.
No, you said that.
That's what it's all about.
Well, you said
it's
free.
About marketing 101. Is what you see is what we're going to pay for.
That's not true at all. If that's the case, you would have the major media markets with the number 1 ranked teams. The number 1 team in college basketball is up in Spokane, Pullman, Washington. Is Gonzaga. Very small media market, Big C. It makes no sense. Collusion is collusion, and that's my opinion. But we got to get closed because we got a lot more to talk about next week. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble, and count the votes, Big C. What are you looking forward to in this boy's universe?
Well, I'm hoping that the people out there on the West Coast can count the number of empty seats in the stadium.
Yeah, it's called COVID. It's called COVID.
They get a full house. Yeah. They want to compete down in the South.
It's called
Once
COVID.
Again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They'll even help those people out in those empty stadiums in California.
Yeah, the state is called COVID-19, Big C. That's why the stadiums are empty, even in the South. But no, it's spiking more in the South. It's all fair, love, and war. You don't have to spike every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the number 1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number 1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, that's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.